My name is Clara Mitchell. I am 38 years old, and until today, I thought I understood my family, both my own and my husband's. That day, however, would mark a significant turn in my life. It began with the unwelcome sound of whispers drifting through the crack of the study door. The room was dim, illuminated only by the gray light filtering through the heavy curtains. I was supposed to be tidying up the living room while they held a private meeting. Instead, I froze, painfully aware of the opportunistic words that slithered through the keyhole. "We cannot keep supporting her," Eleanor, my mother-in-law, scoffed, her voice laced with disdain. "Clara is nothing but a financial burden. And Thomas, he can't see that." Each word punctured my heart, the venomous tension wrapping around me like a noose. I could almost feel their eyes on me as they exchanged glances, their fake smiles failing to mask the true disgust they felt. Madeline, my sister-in-law, nodded in agreement, her face twisted into a smug expression that ignited the kettle of resentment inside me. I remained silent, hidden in the shadows of their judgment, feeling the coldness seep into my bones. They spoke as if I were a mere topic of discussion, a problem to be solved, rather than a human being with feelings and dignity. "Thomas is too kind to address the issue directly," Eleanor continued, "but it's about time we do what's best for the family." Silent tears threatened to spill down my cheeks, but I stood my ground, reminding myself of my resilience. I had sacrificed so much, my career ambitions, my dreams, to keep the family harmony alive, to support a life where I could feel included, even if I always sensed the invisible barrier looming over me. There were moments when I tried to break through, attempting to forge connections with them. I recall one particular Thanksgiving when I meticulously prepared a feast, hoping for approval. The table was adorned with golden brown turkey, seasonal vegetables, and warm bread rolls. But all I received were clipped remarks about the lack of real family recipes. I stood quietly, absorbing the barbed comments while Thomas laughed, oblivious to my splintering heart. As I stood at the threshold, absorbing their cruelty, I realized something profound. They thought they had left me in the shadows, but the light revealed my true strength. This moment marked the beginning of my transformation. I would not keep allowing them to define me. I stepped back, retreating from the door's prying edges, the bitterness simmering inside me. Alone in the kitchen, I felt the sharp sting of betrayal claw at my chest. I had been the nurturer, the supporter, yet beneath my supportive demeanor lay the wounds of constant belittling. Eleanor's piercing words morphed into a mantra, a haunting echo of indignity that would no longer root itself in my foundation. The rustic kitchen filled with warmth, yet I felt the bitter chill of rejection linger. I picked up a dish towel, allowing my emotions to pour into its fibers as I dried the dishes, scrubbing away more than just food remnants. With every wipe, I envisioned cleansing myself of their disdain, their disdainful laughter ringing in my ears like a demon's chorus. I could feel the suffocation of their expectations, the weight of their judgments pressing down on me. Tomorrow I would face the family again, perhaps with constructed smiles and rehearsed pleasantries. But today, I paid tribute to my pain. Tomorrow might bring a chance for change. I would strategize. I would no longer be the silent observer. I would reclaim my narrative. The days that followed were steeped in a cold silence, one that seeped into the very corners of my existence, wrapping around me like an unwelcome fog. I went about the motions of daily life, putting on the facade of a dutiful wife. On the surface, I maintained a calm demeanor, agreeing with whatever Thomas said as he navigated the delicate family dynamics. But beneath that calm lay a turmoil I could no longer ignore. I spent hours reflecting on the choices I had made, the sacrifices that had led me to this point of isolation. Memories floated through my mind like dust motes in the sunlight, vivid yet tinged with shadows. I remembered the ambitious young woman I once was, filled with aspirations of starting a career in art. Instead, I had set aside my dreams to support Thomas while he climbed the corporate ladder, the golden boy of the Mitchell family. Every time he came home, full of tales of his triumphs, it had felt like I was performing a delicate dance for an audience that would never applaud. My own accomplishments were eclipsed by his successes, dimmed even further by Eleanor's constant reminders of my limited potential. "Clara," she used to say, the condescension rolling off her tongue like honey, "you really should find a more suitable hobby. Your artistic aspirations are impractical." Yet, in the solitude of my own mind, I could see it clearly. I had nurtured his success while they dismissed me as unworthy of their name. I recalled the first family gathering after our marriage. I had peered into the mirror, applying my makeup with an optimism that felt foreign now. "You look beautiful, Clara," I whispered, trying to drum up my confidence. But as soon as I walked into the room, Eleanor's frosty smile met me, and I was instantly reminded of my outsider status. During that gathering, I wore a dress that I had chosen to represent my individuality, a vintage piece I had found at a thrift shop, and I thought it would impress them. Instead, I was met with laughter that pierced my heart. Madeline, donning the latest designer fashions, remarked, "Didn't anyone tell you that so last season?" The sting of humiliation radiated through me as I smiled weakly, the warmth of their company never reaching my core. Flashbacks burned into my memory, those moments of laughter shared among them while I watched from a distance, feeling more like an intruder with each interaction. The way they would gather around the fireplace to share stories, their voices bubbling with joy, while I stood tucked in the corner, invisible, my laughter dying in my throat. They never noticed how much those moments cut me, how they reaffirmed the truth I had long tried to bury. During one family vacation, I had finally thought I could break the wall. I organized activities that highlighted our strengths as a family. Hiking and art sessions around the campfire under a starlit sky. But just as quickly as that hope surged, it was dashed when I overheard Eleanor telling Madeline, "Clara tries too hard to fit in, doesn't she? It's a shame she doesn't see that no one is looking for her approval." Each memory felt like a stone sinking into the depths of my heart, each one a reminder that even in my attempts to be seen, I was merely an accessory to their lives. Yet the cold realization stirred something dormant within me. This reality fueled a fire of indignation rather than acceptance. It was overcast when I returned to our home from one such painfully empty family dinner. The rain drizzled steadily, as though the world echoed my sorrow. Inside, the quietness enveloped me, mingling with my feelings of disillusionment, and I turned the lights on, fighting against the shadows that surrounded me. There was an old box tucked away on a shelf in the living room, filled with dusty memories and forgotten dreams. I approached it tentatively and opened it. Amidst trinkets and photographs, I found the remnants of my former self, sketches I had created, half-finished pieces that captured my dreams and passions. They were reminders of who I used to be, reflections of ambition and creativity crowded out by the weight of my current life. Flipping through the sketches brought a rush of nostalgia, but also a pang of resentment. I had set aside my aspirations for this family that had never respected them. I yearned to remember the feeling of paint beneath my fingers, the thrill of creating something beautiful without fearing the judgment that constantly loomed over me. As the rain drummed against the window panes, I set the sketches aside, suddenly resolute. I knew I couldn't live in anguish anymore, wallowing in memories of acceptance that had never truly existed. If I were ever to reclaim my identity and my worth, I would need to confront the harsh truths of my circumstances head-on. I rose from the floor, a newfound sense of determination surging through me. The following days transformed from quiet hardship to a period of reflection and planning. Each time I was met with a remark from Eleanor reflecting her disdain, I reminded myself of the woman I was before, the strong, driven Clara who painted her dreams with bold strokes. I mentally collected every slight, every mockery, building a reservoir of strength within me as I did so. Little did they know that with every belittling remark, they were unknowingly sharpening my resolve. This was not merely about proving them wrong, it was about unearthing the strength I had allowed them to cloak with their disdain for so long. Quiet afternoons turned into flashbacks, strewn with the lessons of persistence. I sketched new plans for my life, using old dreams as my fighting instruments. I knew I would not emerge as a victim, but rather as someone who reclaimed their narrative. The last day of that crucial week, as I sat at the dining table, I felt the weight of my contemplations solidifying into something more tangible. There were emotions swirling inside me, conflict wrapped in resignation and hope. I picked up my phone to call an old mentor from my university, a respected attorney who had always believed in my potential. A small step towards regaining control and clarity. As the phone rang, suspense gripped me. The moment I heard her warm voice, that flicker of hope ignited within me, the excitement of unveiling a new chapter beckoning. It was time to discover what routes lay ahead to reclaim my strength and vision. If you find my story sharing something resonant within you, feel free to check out the guide I've outlined in the first comment below. It might help if you are facing similar struggles in your own life. Shall we proceed to Section 3? The Secret Discovery? I sat in my small home office, surrounded by the comforting scent of fresh coffee and the faint hum of the outside world. The conversation with my mentor, Angela, had ignited a spark within me. We discussed the possibility of starting my own small business, an art studio where I could finally express myself and reclaim my identity. But as my thoughts spiraled into dreams of vibrant canvases and the smell of paintbrushes, a lingering sense of practicality held me back. I vacillated between the urge to pursue my passion and the weight of my husband's family's expectations. Weeks passed, and while I felt my spirit lifting, I had little power over the gears of my current life. One afternoon, I dug through the clutter in the attic, searching for additional supplies for my newfound venture. It was a quiet space, filled with faded memories and forgotten items. Among the layers of dust and cobwebs, I unearthed a box that caught my eye, an old wooden crate, weathered by time. As I pried the lid open, I felt a rush of nostalgia. Inside, I discovered childhood photographs, works of art I had created, and mementos from my past life. Until, buried beneath them, something unfamiliar caught my attention. A sealed envelope, yellowed and worn. My heart raced as I opened it, revealing a letter in Thomas's handwriting. "Clara," it began. "If you are reading this, I want you to know how much you mean to me. I want us to build our future together. My father is concerned about our finances, but I have a plan." The words seemed to materialize like a lifebuoy, pulling me from despair. Thomas, my husband, had spoken of a business venture, a partnership with my father to secure our financial stability. I was overwhelmed with emotion as I read deeper into the letter. He outlined his vision of how this venture could provide a stable income for us, allowing me the freedom to pursue my art without the headache of financial instability. He mentioned teamwork, building something strong and promising, and how much he valued my input. As I continued reading, however, my throat tightened. The vision was one that he had kept hidden from everyone else, something I never knew existed until now. I recalled the burden of Eleanor's comments regarding our finances, how the family had never seen me as an equal. In fact, it appeared that Thomas had undertaken this venture in hopes of helping me break free from their expectations. If only he had shared this plan with me. I felt an unexpected flow of anger and empowerment surge through me. This wasn't just a revelation of his intentions, it was a key. I had spent years under the weight of their disdain without ever knowing he had wanted to change that narrative. I couldn't help but feel a mix of betrayal and newfound hope. The very foundation of my sense of belonging began to shift. I swiftly reached for my phone and called Angela again, my mind racing with questions and possibilities. When she answered, her soothing voice grounded me. "Angela, you won't believe what I just discovered," I exclaimed, my heart pounding against my chest. I shared the details from the letter, and she echoed my excitement. "This could be your doorway, Clara. You must find out how committed Thomas truly is and solidify your own stake in this venture. However, you need to be cautious. You've got a chance to take charge." We spoke at length about how I might approach Thomas, calculated questions to inquire about his plans without revealing what I had discovered. I wanted to tread lightly until I fully understood everything behind those carefully concealed intentions. We also discussed the importance of gathering more evidence, anything that might confirm my stake in the partnership and my entitlement to the family resources. After hanging up, I felt a confidence blossoming within me, mixed with determination. I allowed myself to envision what my life could look like if I were to seize this moment. A canvas stretched wide before me, waiting to be painted. With that resolve I decided to dig deeper. I spent several afternoons meticulously researching financial setups that could secure my position in Thomas's plans. I browsed through investments, businesses that aligned with my vision, and the structures that could offer stability. I felt excitement coursing through my veins as I mapped out my thoughts, gathering papers into a new folder titled My Future. Then, the moment arrived when I would invite Thomas out for coffee. I chose a cozy cafe we used to visit when we were dating, where sweet memories lingered like the aroma of freshly baked pastries. I arrived early, my heart both heavy with trepidation and light with hope. Finally, when he walked through the door, I could see that familiar warmth in his smile, which momentarily made me forget the doubts that loomed. Once seated, I engaged him in light conversation, but I could feel the tension building beneath the surface. "I found something the other day," I said cautiously, watching his expression change, a glimpse of curiosity crossing his face. "It was an old letter about our future and that business venture." "I never knew you felt that way." His brows knit together, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What do you mean? Clara, Thomas, what are your intentions? Are you serious about securing a future for us?" I interrupted, trying to keep my tone light but firm. I could see the gears turning in his head, possibly wondering how to navigate this conversation without bringing his family into the mix. "I wanted you to know that I've been working on a plan with your father," he admitted slowly, his gaze dropping to the table. "But it's just talk. My mom won't entertain the idea." Pushing deeper, I leaned in slightly, my heart racing. "What if I told you I wanted to be a part of this? If you're committed, then I want to explore how we can both benefit. It's not just about you, it's about us." He looked up, his eyes suddenly brighter. "Clara, for me, you are everything. But I was afraid that if I brought it up, my mother would interfere and well, I didn't want to burden you." I felt a rush of sympathy mixed with the flames of indignation rekindling within me. "You have to let me in. This affects both of us. I don't want to be seen as a liability anymore." Suddenly, I felt that tangle of emotions begin to unravel as I recognized a shift in power. There was potential for us to forge our own path, away from Eleanor's grip. Together, we could take control of our narrative, a partnership that would not only benefit us, but hold the key to reshaping how his family viewed me. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, I reflected on the letter's sentiments. I felt emboldened. The seeds of my newfound strength were sprouting. They thought they had left me in the shadows, but the light revealed my true strength. Are you finding value in our story? If you're touched by my journey, please consider sending a super chat to support the channel. Your contributions help me share these powerful narratives. Shall we move on to Section 4, Silent Investigation? The following days were a mix of hope and strategy, woven together with threads of cautious optimism. I felt revived, yet vigilant, ready to chart a course that could change my relationship with Thomas's family forever. Our conversation had inspired me to delve deeper into my husband's plans and the dynamics that existed within the Mitchell family, all while keeping my intentions hidden. Armed with the confidence bolstered by my conversation with Thomas, I began my investigations. As soon as he left for work each morning, I utilized every spare moment to sift through documents and financial statements that I could steal glances at around the house. His office became my fortress of research, my sacred space filled with intricate details about the family's finances. I was careful. Everything had to seem accidental, casual in nature. It wasn't long before I stumbled upon a collection of folders that piqued my curiosity. They were neatly organized, filed under an array of headings, including investments, real estate, and importantly, one titled Project Genesis, My Future. Nestled within that last folder were business proposals that included potential partners, geographical implications, and even market analysis. Each document pointed toward a network of contacts, both familiar and new, preparing to shoulder the burden of financial growth. With each passing hour, my understanding grew, not just of the business itself, but also of my standing within it. This wasn't merely a familial venture. It was a prospect for me to solidify my identity and my value within both my marriage and the Mitchell lineage. Then, while sifting through these folders, I found a hand-drawn diagram, a visual representation of a company framework that Thomas and his father had drafted together. As I studied it, I noticed something crucial. The diagram included roles for family members, and while Thomas was placed at the helm, I saw there was an empty box beside him, labeled Creative Director. My heart raced at the realization that box could be filled with my name. In that moment, a resolve flooded over me. It was time to seize this opportunity to claim my part in the narrative. I would not just be part of this venture, I would lead it, ensuring that any contributions I made received the visibility and respect that had so long eluded me. The next step was to approach my father, who had previously mentioned a desire to invest in local businesses. He always had faith in my artistic endeavors, and with my newfound insight, I craved his guidance. A few evenings later, after dinner, I brought him a warm cup of tea and sat down, my heart quickening. "Dad," I began tentatively, "I've been thinking about the business opportunity Thomas mentioned, the potential project he and your team discussed. I feel like I could contribute a unique perspective." He raised an eyebrow, encouraging me to continue. "Clara, are you serious? You've always wanted to paint and create. Are you considering stepping into a financial role? I've been doing some research and I believe I could bring value. I've seen the plans they have and I want to explore how we can financially secure my spot on the team." I saw his interest spike at my enthusiasm, a small flicker of pride dancing in his eyes. "Sometimes it takes courage to express that ambition," he said, leaning back in his chair thoughtfully. "If you can prove your passion and show them your skills, I believe they'll come to appreciate your worth." Weeks rolled on, and I observed my husband as he navigated family dinners while providing updates that gave subtle hints of the project to the family. Each comment painted a picture of potential, but I was more focused on Eleanor's responses. She still wore that critical mask, quipping dismissively whenever Thomas attempted to include my input. "I don't see how Clara would manage such a complex role in the business," she said one evening. Her critique hit me like a slap, but rather than crumbling, I stood firm, feeling that burning fire inside me reigniting. It was then I realized I needed more than motivation. I required evidence of my capabilities that I could display to the family as proof they could no longer overlook me. While Thomas worked, I began curating small art pieces that reflected our family legacy, illustrating how I could integrate my artistic vision with their business goals. The fusion of creativity and commerce began to shape in my mind, and I poured every ounce of energy into crafting pieces that could catch their attention. Among the framed pieces, I composed a large canvas featuring a landscape that represented our hometown, the Mitchell legacy, intertwined with love for the past and the promise of our future. I polished my pitch, imagining the moment I would present my art during a family gathering. I would not only display my talent, I would showcase my willingness to contribute to our shared endeavors. One breezy Saturday evening, Thomas invited his family over for dinner. Unsurprisingly, Eleanor breezed through the doorway, her presence palpable, demanding attention. I had spent the entire week preparing not just a meal, but also strategically organizing my thoughts for the reveal of my artwork. As the family gathered at the table, the atmosphere crackled with a mix of warmth and the weight of unspoken grudges. After dessert, I felt the timeliness of the moment crescendo around me. I stood and offered them a toast, a warm intro declaring my excitement at everyone gathering together so harmoniously. Then I motioned toward the living room. "I have something I want to show you," I said, feeling adrenaline ignite. As I unveiled the artwork, I felt breath hitch in the room. I stood in front of my family-in-law, revealing not just a painting, but my vision, a testament to who I was and what I aimed to become inside this family dynamic. I held my breath, waiting for their reactions. At first, there was an unsettling silence, as if they were processing the unexpected depth of my creation. Finally, Thomas stepped forward, admiration shining in his eyes. "Clara, this is extraordinary. I believe we could use this to symbolize our unity in the upcoming project," Eleanor hesitated for a moment, finally breaking the silence. "It's different," she said, her voice calculated. "But it does have potential." The dialogue unfolded, and I felt empowered as I realized my vision had managed to carve out space for acknowledgement where there had previously been derision. In those moments, I knew I was no longer the quiet shadow. I had become an integral part of their vision, a tapestry intertwined with the legacy of the family business. I wouldn't just be a passenger in Thomas's ambitions. I was a partner in the direction his plans took us. Are you enjoying this journey with me? Show your support by sending super stickers. Your fun and colorful contributions keep this channel alive and help me bring you more stories of resilience and justice. Shall we continue with Section 5, the Justice Plan? The evening of the unveiling marked a pivotal turning point. A swell of renewed belief began to flow through the household, fueled by my artwork. Thomas had expressed genuine excitement, and even Eleanor's cautious acknowledgement felt like a breakthrough. As I lay in bed that night, the possibilities spun around like chaotic fireflies in my mind, igniting new strategies for how I could truly step into my role. I had tasted the first few drops of acceptance, but now it was time to pour the entire glass. The following weeks were instrumental as I diligently worked alongside Thomas on Project Genesis. I dove headfirst into planning sessions with him, where we began to lay down the foundation of a business that could encapsulate both our dreams and our identities. The dynamics of our collaboration shifted. He began to see me not as a separate entity, but as an essential partner. I watched his mother closely, eager to detect any signs of opposition to my growing involvement. She appeared less threatening now, wary but non-hostile. During meetings, however, I noticed how she communicated with terse remarks, often inserting her authority in a way that left me feeling under a microscope. "Thomas, are you certain this approach mirrors our family values?" she questioned, her eyes glancing toward me with a hint of disapproval. But what she didn't understand was that the mere act of my staying present in those conversations began to undermine her narrative. I had refused to be dismissed as an amateur or a burden. I challenged her each time with insights I had garnered from working closely with Thomas. I didn't just want a seat at the table. I aimed to craft the discussions and direct the flow, so my thoughts became intertwined with their expectations. One night, after another heated meeting where my contributions had seemingly been disregarded, I decided it was time to confront the underlying tension further. I understood that Eleanor would require respect rather than resistance. Her input held weight within the family sphere. So, I approached her with a proposition that could shift the balance of power. "Eleanor," I began, finding her in the floral-patterned sitting room one chilly evening. She sat upright, a mug of herbal tea nestled between her hands. "I appreciate the insights you've brought to the discussions. I was thinking it might benefit us all to collaborate more closely." She smiled thinly, unimpressed. "Collaborate how, Clara? You're not quite established in the family business yet. I wouldn't want you to overexert yourself." The choice of words grated on my nerves, but I steadied myself. "I understand your concerns, but I have visions that align with the values of this family, ones that we can elevate through this project. I have expertise from my background that you might find advantageous." I felt an air of surprise wash over her features, but she quickly hid it behind a mask of indifference. "Advantageous? And how do you propose to implement that?" "Let's leverage my art to create marketing materials for Project Genesis," I suggested, carefully emphasizing my passion for integrating creativity into business. It's not just a side project, it's a chance to redefine our brand identity, marrying art and commerce. It can set a new standard for how we present ourselves to our clients. For the first time, I saw her pause, the internal wheels of her mind turning. "I'll consider it," she admitted after a moment, and just like that, a quiet acknowledgement began to form between us, a potential partnership, however fragile. The next day, I began drafting mock-ups of marketing pieces that embodied our project's ethos. There were moments when the excitement felt intoxicating. I could envision our roles merging beautifully, an artistic entrepreneur shaking the roots of tradition. With every design laid out on paper, every color choice, I felt my heart swell. This would be my mark on the legacy we were building together. However, I was also painfully aware of my prior confusion about Thomas's initial plans. I now saw it as imperative to communicate with him directly, to solidify the partnership which often felt overshadowed by family politics. I arranged another evening to talk, one where we could breathe in each other's visions without the tension of familial scrutiny. As we sipped red wine in our dimly lit kitchen, I ventured into sensitive territory. Thomas, have you thought about what my role truly means for us? Is there a way we can solidify our positions, making sure we both have a say moving forward? His brow furrowed, and for a moment I feared he'd be defensive. Instead, he leaned closer, taking a breath full of determination. I want to ensure this isn't just a chance for us to work together, but also for us to define our future, Clara. I'm sorry for how I've allowed my mother's doubts to cloud my judgment. Let's present a united front to Eleanor, I proposed. I have a plan in mind that can highlight both our strengths while reinforcing our positions. I don't want to diminish the respect she has for you, but it's time we both show her how serious we are about this venture. After that conversation, I felt a rekindled spark of courage, realizing that we were two vital pieces in a larger puzzle. The very essence of that joint ambition was the foundation on which I would build our lives together, not just inside our home, but in the wider context of the Mitchell family. My vision became clear. I imagined us drafting an official proposal, complete with a presentation that showcased our unified front. One that highlighted both our artistic and logistical strengths while advocating for our partnership in front of the entire family. As the weekends approached, I spent my days in the studio tirelessly refining those initial marketing strategies. The colors vibrant, the visions bold. I knew I had to present something that would visually captivate Eleanor and even potentially influence other family members. Every brushstroke became layered with a sense of purpose, a retaliation against years of undermining remarks. I would not only contribute my creativity but create an irresistible concept that would be impossible for anyone, including Eleanor, to dismiss. This work was more than just a task. It was my process of reclaiming agency, my chance to step boldly into the spotlight and assert that I was more than just Thomas's wife or a passive player in a family narrative. As the canvas dried, I felt a palpable energy buzzing through me. This was my moment to redefine not only my role, but the very essence of what it meant to be part of the Mitchell legacy. Did you feel that surge of empowerment? If this story moved you, show your appreciation by clicking "Thanks a lot" super thanks button. Your generous support keeps this channel going and helps me bring you more stories of courage and triumph. Shall we proceed to Section 6? Confrontation and Downfall. The day of the presentation arrived, and I felt a cocktail of exhilaration and anxiety swirling within me. Thomas and I had worked tirelessly to prepare our pitch for the family, meticulously crafting every aspect to highlight our collaborative vision for Project Genesis. The moment had finally come to step into the larger narrative, to confront the doubts that had shadowed me for so long. I arrived early, setting up the living room like a gallery, displaying my artworks alongside persuasive visual aids summarizing our business model. When I stepped back to admire the setup, the walls seemed to pulse with energy, echoing with the hopes I had poured into every stroke. As the family gathered, their usual pre-dinner chatter buzzed through the room, punctuated by Eleanor's sharp remarks about trivial matters. She never missed an opportunity. I took a deep breath, smoothing my blouse, and prepared myself for the challenge ahead. Thomas walked in beside me, flashing a reassuring smile, silently conveying that this was our moment. Once everyone was seated, I stood with Thomas, heart racing as I faced the assembly. Thank you all for coming tonight. We are excited to share our vision for Project Genesis. I began, the sound of my voice steadier than I felt. As I launched into the presentation, I saw mixed expressions among the family. Thomas's mother watched intently, but her brow was furrowed, a clear warning sign that I had to tread lightly. I unfolded the roadmap of the business plan, showcasing my artwork, the financial projections, and the collaborative structure we envisioned. Clara's art isn't just about aesthetics. It embodies the spirit of this project. We believe art and commerce can coexist beautifully, enhancing both visibility and engagement with our clients. Thomas added passionately, and I felt a surge of gratitude for his unwavering support. Then I presented a concept piece that showcased our combined vision, a logo and marketing theme that represented both of our strengths. It was bold, vibrant, and spoke volumes about our mission. Eleanor's face remained stony, and every attempt I made to engage her felt like casting my words into a tempest. Our potential clients want authenticity, I emphasized, and this project symbolizes our commitment to bringing that authenticity to life. Her patience started to wane, and as I finished, the silence in the room felt heavy. Finally, she cleared her throat, her voice sounding like ice. "This is all very nice, Clara, but I still fail to see how a few paintings will have any real impact on our profits." The gasps from other family members echoed behind me, but I stood firm. "Eleanor, our emphasis on art can translate to broader market appeal. There are demographics, clients, who value the fusion of creativity in their commerce." I leaned in, determined. "You may consider us frivolous, but I assure you, neglecting this approach is an enormous risk in today's market." "Let's not forget," Eleanor retorted sharply, "that you have no formal business experience, so please spare us the grand visions." The room buzzed with murmurs, caught between the conflict. My cheeks flushed with embarrassment, yet anger flared within me. I had fought too hard to let her words settle like poison. "With all due respect, Eleanor, this isn't merely about experience. It's about fresh perspectives," I asserted, my voice unwavering. "I refuse to be placed beneath your shadow any longer. I've spent too long doubting myself because you made it feel like I was unworthy. I'm not just Thomas's wife. I am an integral part of this vision." Those words hung in the air, and I saw the reactions unfold out of the corner of my eye. Shock, disbelief, and a hint of respect fluttered across the faces of the family members. Thomas's eyes widened, and I could tell he was both proud and surprised. Eleanor's facade shattered slightly, revealing a flicker of vulnerability, just for a moment. "Don't speak to me like that," she hissed, suddenly defensive. "You think just because you've created some pictures that this will all work out? How naive." "Naive?" I repeated incredulously, pushing my anger aside. "You've only ever seen me as second-rate. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm fighting for my place, and if that feels wrong to you, then maybe it's time we both reconsider how we view success." In that venture of honesty, I felt a palpable shift. Other family members exchanged glances, surprise melding with grudging admiration. My vision was not flimsy. It was bold and unyielding, and deep down, they realized they had wrongly dismissed me. Eleanor's expression morphed into a mask of fury, but it was too late. The truth had seeped into the cracks of her dismissals, leaving no room for her to regain control. "Clara, you have no idea what you're doing. This is not how one grows in maturity or respect." "Isn't it, though?" I countered, adrenaline pumping through my veins. "I see you as a woman who clings to the past, desperate to maintain the power you believe you hold. You've overlooked me at every turn, but know this. Yesterday's shadows do not dictate tomorrow's light." The exchange echoed uncomfortably in the room, but I couldn't back down. Not anymore. The once powerful figure before me now appeared fragile, while I felt a surge of empowerment rise deep within me, fortified by the support of Thomas by my side. Eleanor fell silent, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You'll regret this," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, packed with an eerie promise. "Perhaps I will, but change is needed, and I will not back down," I replied, resolute. In that charged atmosphere, everything seemed to crystallize. I had faced the enemy, the harbinger of my oppression, and I had spoken my truth, not just for my own dignity, but for future generations of women in this family who would need to navigate similar dynamics. As the confrontation ebbed, I took a deep breath, allowing the weight of my words to settle. I realized this was not just about winning a battle with Eleanor. It was about igniting a revolution within the Mitchell legacy, reclaiming my place with dignity and determination. The meeting concluded and the family slowly dispersed, but the energy remained electric in the air. Thomas took my hand and squeezed it gently, admiration echoing in his eyes. "You were incredible," he whispered, awe evident in every syllable. It felt good. No, it felt powerful. Like a door had been opened wide, and for the first time, I could step through it as myself. Are you finding inspiration in my journey? If so, consider sending a super chat to support the channel. Your messages mean the world and fuel the fire to share these heart-wrenching tales. Shall we move forward to Section 7? New Life. The days following my confrontation with Eleanor buzzed with newfound energy. I felt invigorated, driven by the resolve to carve my place within the Mitchell family. No longer would I bow to the past. I was ready to step into my own narrative and turn it into a collaborative legacy. As the proposal for Project Genesis took shape, my partnership with Thomas blossomed. We worked tirelessly to fuse our visions, crafting something that truly represented us. The family dynamics began shifting. A subtle acknowledgement of my presence infused the air with possibilities. I could feel their skepticism waning, even if Eleanor still cast her shadow. Determined to showcase our creativity, I organized a community art show for local artists, including myself. This wasn't just an exhibit. It was our chance to launch Project Genesis, inviting potential clients to see the product of our labor firsthand. The event would not only celebrate art, but also act as a platform for our business. On the night of the show, I transformed the gallery. Vibrant colors, expressive pieces, and heartfelt conversations filled the space. The atmosphere crackled with excitement, and as I glanced around, I felt a sense of belonging blossom. Each artwork echoed my journey, the struggles, triumphs, and the fight for my voice. And I felt proud. As I stepped in front of a crowd gathered around my work, I took a deep breath. Thank you for joining us tonight, I began, steadying my voice. Project Genesis embodies the fusion of creativity and commerce, reminding us that authenticity can change lives. Applause erupted, and I saw Thomas watching me, his eyes shining with pride. I had come so far, and it felt exhilarating. Yet, I couldn't help but notice Eleanor lingering on the edges, arms crossed as if bracing against the tide. After several conversations, I saw curiosity spark in the eyes of other family members. They were beginning to grasp the depth of my contributions and the potential we had together. Eleanor's authority felt weakened, her sharp comments losing their sting in the light of our shared enthusiasm. In the following months, the project gained traction. We secured funding to initiate our plans, transforming our vision into reality. It was a pivotal moment when I realized that the shift wasn't just in my own self-worth, but the entire family's perception of what I could contribute. One evening, as I celebrated our success with Thomas, I recounted how far I'd come and how I had transformed the narrative of my past. A story not dictated by shadows, but fueled by resilience and hope. As I glanced around the bustling gallery, I felt a renewed sense of purpose reflecting through the community we had gathered. I had emerged from the depths of Eleanor's dismissals and turned them into fuel for my empowerment, crafting a new life not only for myself, but for future generations to witness. With Eleanor, there was still tension, yet it felt different now. Instead of fear, I faced her with determination, no longer worried about her judgment. I was creating a new song that resonated beyond the fables of old conflicts, one that held space for imaginative ideas and collaborative partnerships. By embracing my role, owning my worth, and transforming the potential for conflict into opportunities for growth, I set the stage for a dynamic future. My story doesn't end here. If you want to see what happens next, follow this channel and leave a like. Your support means everything. Thank you for your understanding. I appreciate your patience as we continue crafting this journey. They thought they had left me with nothing. They thought they had left me with nothing.